right, guys. Well, thank you so much for allowing us to speak to you today. My name is Mercedes. I'm from Mix 94.1 Radio, and I also host a TV show called Las Vegas Now on Channel 8. I want to thank Miss Buno and Miss Stewart for having us here. This is such a wonderful program. My daughter graduated from West Tech in the business program, and my youngest, who's in middle school now, just found out she got accepted, so she is going to be a part of this program next year. Everything I've seen my daughter do has been absolutely incredible, and now she's in college, going to a wonderful school, and she has the tools that she got from this program to get her through that first year of college, and she said that it has been a lifesaver for her. So what you guys are doing is really putting you ahead of the curve. So thank you for letting us come here today. We want to talk about financial literacy, and we know that you probably know a lot about it, but do you know everything about it? We don't have a lot of time to teach you everything, but there are things that I did not know when I was your age when it comes to financial literacy, and it took me until I was a young adult to figure them out. So we really want to give you some of those tools that you need for the future. So I want to play a little game. I want to do a little test, if you guys will indulge me. Can you all stand really quick, please? I'm going to ask some questions, and if your personal answer is no to the question, then sit down, okay? I want to see how many people know these things or have done these things. So first of all, how many of you have heard of a credit union? Okay, if it's no, you can sit down. If it's yes, stay up. How many of you have a savings account? Wow, that's a lot of people. Don't feel bad. I mean, I didn't until I was like in my 20s, so you're good. How many of you automatically contribute to your savings account monthly? Okay. How many of you are saving for something specific? How many of you have reached your savings goal? Okay, so that leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many of you have surpassed your savings goal? And finally, how many of you have opened a checking account? Okay, we've got 4, Abel. Look at this. Or 5. Give me another. Okay. The 5 of you that are standing, we have a little surprise for you. And we are going to give these to you here. But the reason I wanted to find out those questions is it doesn't mean that you're any less. It means that we have some things that we can teach you. So thank you, guys. You can go ahead and sit down now. On that note, the perfect person is here to teach us about those things and explain things that you may not know, things that you want to know more about. So help me give a big round of applause to the CEO of Silver State Schools Credit Union, Scott Arkills.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's so good to talk to you, Scott. You and I talk every month,
Yep.
and I work with Silver State Schools Credit Union. And in that short time that we've been together, I think it's been over a year and a half, but
Yep.
I've learned so much from you as an adult. These kids, I hate saying kids because you really are young adults, and you obviously are taking your future into consideration being part of this program. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the financial area.
Yeah, a great question, and welcome everybody. I'm glad you made it today, and this is a great time for us to kind of share some things with you, and I think it's really important, so I'm glad you could make it. And so the way I got into, actually I was going to be a teacher, believe it or not. And that was 44 years ago. And I was up in Spokane, Washington, grew up there, and my wife and I were both going to be student teachers at the same time, and our smaller college told us, no, you can't do that. And so I said, well, okay, I'll go into financial services. So literally 41 years ago, when I graduated from college, I started in financial services, and I haven't looked back. Now, I've been teaching ever since then, and this is a good example of that, quite frankly. So,
well, you're really good at it. Just by a show of hands, how many people are interested in going into the finance arena when you get older? A lot of you. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the aspects of a credit union. For example, what is the difference between a credit union and a bank?
Yeah. So we do banking. So, and that's a term that you hear all the time, but there's a couple of big differences from our perspective. Now, I was 25 years banker, believe it or not. So that's where I started my career. And a bank has a shareholder. They're a for-profit organization, and each customer of theirs, they call them customers, goes in and makes a deposit. Anybody can open any account at any bank. Whereas a credit union, you are the owner. So if you're a member of a credit union, which all of you are eligible, by the way, for Silver State Schools Credit Union because you're students, what we make you is member owners. So you are an owner. So you have a say in how we run the credit union. And you know, when Ralph, my chief experience officer, and I talk about this often to people, that means you have a democratic vote in what's happening, and I think that's pretty important. And so we do everything that a bank does, and I want you to know that. We do every loan, we do every credit card, we do every business loan that a bank does, and so it's really the same type of thing. It is called banking, but from our perspective, and the reason why I went over to a credit union 15 years ago is because I think we do things better. We serve our community, and I think that's the most important thing that we can do is give back to our communities, give back to our members, and we reinvest all of our net income. We still make a profit like everybody else does. The difference is we return that to our members in higher actually dividend rates, which is what you're going to get on your savings accounts and your checking accounts, believe it or not. And we also offer lower rates on loans. And so that's how we give back. And then I do a lot of technology and that kind of stuff. Now, we don't have all the capital that a big bank has, but those are some of the things that we can do.
You mentioned that they're all eligible to become members,
Yep.
Being that they're students. When they are no longer students, are they still a part of that credit union?
Yes, absolutely. You'd be a member for life. So once you qualified in the first place, you're always going to be a member for life. By the way, even if you couldn't, and if you know people outside of that, we have, you guys watch PBS, I'm sure, from time to time too, right? Public Broadcasting System. If you join PBS and become a member of PBS, you also have a way into the credit union, or your family does too. So, and quite frankly, any student, teacher, staff member, grandparent, you know, it extends. Quite frankly, we always say there's almost no way that you can't be a member. That's probably bad English, and I was an English literature major too, guys. But so, but there's every way that you can join, and very few that you can't. So.
On that note, I was really impressed with how many of you have your own accounts. And if you don't stress. I mean, you have time for that. But let's talk about those accounts. What types of financial accounts are important to have?
Yep. So I was actually glad to see that most of you have a savings account, and then that several of you have a checking account too. And so I think that's really, really good. I think those are the kind of things that are probably the most, especially at your age, are the most important thing for you to establish. One of the things as we get into some of these other questions is we're going to talk about how you develop credit and that kind of thing too. So I think we'll get into some of those other kind of things. But absolutely start with the savings and the checking. That's the absolute starting point that I think that every student and individual really should start their financial career with.
Yeah, that's really important. It gives you easy access to your money. You guys have all the tools to do that. And you can even, on the app, I know a lot of you might do your banking on an app where you take a picture of a check that someone wrote you and boom, it's in your account, and that's really nice. But you did mention credit, and a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with credit.
Right.
I will admit I got into some major credit issues when I went to college because I didn't know really what I was doing. I thought, oh, this is basically free money. And then when the bills came, that was a whole new world. Why is it so, what is credit, and
Yep.
why is it so important?
Yep. And I'm glad you asked, Mercedes. I told Mercedes I was going to give you all an example of what happened with my son. So 20 years ago, he started his college career at Purdue, and was going to be an aeronautical engineer. And so valedictorian in his high school, very intelligent and everything. But this is before the Credit Card Act happened. And at the new orientation, the new student orientation, all these banks, not credit unions, I was happy to see, all these banks offered students credit cards with absolutely, it didn't matter to them whether they had an ability to repay the loan or not. And so my son got, how much, if you had to guess, how much debt do you think he got into?
$50,000.
$100,000. Guess who made him quit school?
This guy.
Yep, yeah, it was me, and we just and he didn't even know what he was doing, and we didn't know what he was doing because he signed for them by himself. He put his mother and I as references, and we started getting phone calls, and we said, "What's going on, Andrew?" And he's so he got himself into credit problems. We made him quit school. We made him get a job for $22 an hour for 1 year and to work overtime, and that's how he did it, quite frankly. And so credit is absolutely super important, and that's a good way of getting in trouble. And so we'll put those protections up, and we'll kind of talk about those too as we go down here.
Rule number one, don't mess up your credit.
Yep.
Rule number two, if you do mess up your credit, do whatever you can to fix it. And it is fixable.
It is.
It is fixable. I'm a prime example of that.
Yeah.
So just don't do it in the first place. Save yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so how does someone who's young, like this
Right.
audience, establish their credit?
Yeah, and another great question. From our perspective, really the best way to develop credit, so I know we're in Las Vegas, so you don't hear, and I've lived here for 7 years, and I know it snowed a little bit, but does anybody know what's unique about a snowflake? Yep.
They all look different?
Yep. Do we have another prize? Yes. There's no two snowflakes that are alike. That's going to be the same thing with your credit, because every one of you is going to establish credit in a different way. And one of you may start with a secured credit card and may do it for a $300 balance. The secured credit card, by the way, is a great way to start your credit. That means you make a deposit, and it's secured by that credit card up to that amount. So if you had a $300 deposit, you could have up to $300. Great way to start your credit history and kind of build up from there. Because lots of you had that savings account, so with that savings account, then you get a credit card with it, and it's called a secured credit card. One of the greatest way to do that. But why I call it, it's like a snowflake analogy, is because, again, every one of you is going to develop it in a different way. You're going to have different dollar amounts. You're going to have different kinds of loans that you're going to get. One of you may get a credit card, but you also may get an auto loan. Your parents may co-sign on it for you. The others of you won't get that, but you might have a student loan. So again, every one of those things is going to be different, but all of those things go into it, and we'll talk a little bit more about the different things that I want you to watch out for as you build your credit, because like Mercedes said, even if you spoil your credit and have a problem with it, you can absolutely repair it. Now, I've been a victim of, believe it or not, in my position, I've been a victim of fraud twice. And I don't know how they got my Social Security number or a portion of it. I don't know how they opened credit. It took my credit score all the way down from an 825 to a 500 credit score, and I had to rebuild it myself and challenge a lot of things. And so, but oftentimes people also make mistakes, and we'll kind of talk about some of those mistakes that you can make as well. And so.
825.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I've never seen that. That's going for me. Let's talk about.
I'm back too. No.
Let's talk about credit cards.
Yeah.
What are some of the pros? What are some of the cons?
Yeah, And another great question. So credit cards, I always think that it's the absolute best way to start your credit career, is what I'll call it, because you have to build your credit, but you have to do it in a safe and controlled manner. So the best advice I can give all of you is always be conservative and budget. Know exactly what your budget is on everything. Don't spend beyond your means, and what you're going to be given is a credit line with a credit card, by the way. And so what you don't want to do is you don't want to use all of that and just make minimum payments. You want to pay as much as you can every month, or pay it off every month and then restart all over again, because there's a thing called debt utilization, and it's one of the things that is a big factor in actually your credit score. So, but credit cards are a way for you to start purchasing things. They are the avenue for all the other kind of loans that you're going to do. You're all going to want to get an apartment, right? Whether it's in college or after college, you're all going to want to buy a home, I hope, someday. You're definitely going to want to buy a car, probably an electric car. And so, but you're all going to need, access to credit. And so what you want to do is you want to start with that credit card. I think it's just the absolute best way. Now, I talked about the secured credit card. We offer one of those, and I definitely want you to look into it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do that. You can also become a co-signer with your parents on one. You still get credit for that, and it's a great way to do it. And some of you may already have that with your parents. And I think it's a great avenue to continue down that path. But as you start becoming, a single person using that, I think it's important to just remember, be conservative, try to make more than the minimum payment. So if it says, it's great because you look at it and you go, oh great, it says I only have to pay $20 this month, but you have a $200 balance. Well, if you can, pay that $50 because it's going to help you to achieve more credit in the future. And so
that $200 that you borrow could turn into $400.
It can.
If you make the minimum payments. Yeah, it's really important to pay that off.
Right.
That's really good advice. When it comes to students just starting their financial journey, what's the best piece of advice that you can give?
Yeah, and again, be conservative, budget your finances, know exactly where you're at. Again, unlike my son who just went hog wild, but he didn't, and you may think his dad's a banker and he should have known better. Probably true, but when you get out on your own and you start doing things and you have access to things you didn't have access to before, that's where you start to get in trouble. So I talked about being conservative, but it's not just being conservative. It's really, and I mean being conservative with your money, by the way, too. Be conservative with your finances. Know exactly what you're at. Always run a budget for yourself, and then vary the different kinds of credit that you can get. And 9 out of 10 of you are going to have a student loan or get a student loan in the future. It's another form of credit, and so now some of those are deferred payments, by the way, and you don't have to start paying them until later. And some of those are they may be relieved by the federal government. We don't know, but that's going to be a thing for the future as well too. But student loans, as you get access to a car, that kind of thing, just remember all of those pieces of the puzzle are things that are building your credit. So I called it, don't spoil your credit, don't ruin your credit if possible, because it's a hard thing. I believe it or not, in one of my previous positions, banking positions, I was a CEO for a subprime auto finance company. The average credit score there was 450. And it was like finding a needle in a haystack to find something good about a reason to do a loan. And so the offers are out there. They're not as prevalent either, and that's why I want you to always remember that too, because again, it's hard to get it back once you've gone down a bad path. So do that budget.
That just contributes to higher interest rates.
It does.
So with a 450 credit score is going to get a much higher interest rate than someone that has 825 here. I mean,
right.
Probably basically got it for free, huh?
Well, yeah, absolutely. No, well, and sometimes, I mean, and that's, you're absolutely right though, Mercedes. I mean, the better your credit, the the better opportunities that you have, quite frankly. And there's always creditors like, Silver State Schools Credit Union or different banks or financial institutions that will offer you better terms if you control your credit and do the right things with that.
Such good information. We're going to take some questions. If any of you have a question, something you'd like more information on, you can see Abel right over there holding the microphone. Anything you guys want to know, we have got probably one of the most intelligent finance guys I've ever met right here. So are you set? You have a question? Okay. Tell us your name and then let us know what your question is.
My name is Mia. I have a credit card right now.
Oh, great.
It has no cosign or anything. And when I first got it, I had zero guidance on it. And I don't even know how to find my credit score. Could you guys possibly help me with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mia, that's a great question. Now, I will tell you, believe it or not, almost every creditor gives you access to a free credit score now. And so we certainly do too. It's usually on your application. If you go into it, it'll be one of the things that you tab down to where it says free credit score. And so you don't have to pay for it, and you can actually pull it. I pull mine a couple of times a month. That's how I know exactly where I'm at. And believe it or not, it'll give you your 6-month history as well and let you know where you're at on that. And so that's great that you have a credit card by yourself too. I think that's admirable that you're starting that way. So
there's also a service that I use. It's called LifeLock, and
Yep.
it is great because it does a couple of things. Every month they'll tell you what your credit score
Yes.
is. So like this month I got my credit score and it was down 10 points. I'm like, what happened? What did
Yeah,
I
exactly.
do? The balance on one of my cards was too high, so it came down. But guess what? I'll pay off that balance, it'll go back up. It's really nice. And then it also helps you with fraud.
Right.
If an account is opened in your name under your social security number, I get an immediate text message saying, did you approve this? And so it's something you might want to look into. I think they have reduced rates for students, and
they do.
That has helped me so much. So it's something to think about too. LifeLock. Yeah. You're welcome.
And that's a great point. There's a lot of different credit protection. LifeLock's probably the best known one. There are other credit protection agencies that offer that, and that you can get access to a free credit score as well too. And Google this when you get a chance. Everybody laughs at me because if you want to know the answer to something, I go, I'm not gonna try to guess. I'm gonna Google it. So Google free credit scores, and you'll see how to different ways to access that. But there's lots of different ways.
Great question, Mia.
And don't pay for it.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Jack Hurley. So I'm not old enough to work yet, so is there a way that I can set something up through my parents that'll help me build my credit score?
So Jack, how old are you?
I'm 15 right now.
Okay, 15. So you're a little bit too young to establish that. But I believe, Abel, what's the age that we can offer
I believe it's 16 years old.
I believe it is too, Jack. And I think, and so what you do is you come into the credit union with your parents, and we're actually going to give you $25 at the end. Abel will talk about that too, to open an account with us. But at 16, you can open that account with your parents, have access to that, and a lot of parents help their students and their children to develop credit. I think it's a responsible thing to do. Now, sometimes what they do is they put limits on it, or they have access to. Mercedes was just talking about, she gets alerts. Well, there's a different kind of alerts that parents can get too about what happens. So they're kind of like Big Brother when it comes down to it. But you can get access to that, and we have junior savings accounts and that kind of stuff too. And so and then don't forget, and I'm not sure at what age you can do the secured credit card, but if that's at 16 as well too, that's an absolute great thing to do. And then as you get a job, and put money in your savings account, again, that's the thing that's the security for that credit card.
Okay.
So hopefully the answer.
That's so cool that you're thinking about that at 15.
It is a great question. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I've heard that potentially when you apply for a loan, or like if you're going to go buy a car or something, that if they run your credit score, that it can bring it down. Is that true?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, so that's a danger signal for all of you guys. So 10% of your credit score is actually controlled by the inquiries that you have. Now, the good thing about autos in general is if it's a responsible lender that's running them, they know you're in the market for a car, and so it's not going to be, so if the list, we call it a kind of a scatter shot type of thing, but a dealer may send it to 10 different lenders. Now, if it's not on a certain kind of credit score, it will take 10 inquiries. And again, just remember, everybody, that's 10% of, and hopefully somebody will ask me the percentages of what I'll give you. In fact, if you want to ask that next, I'll do that. But 10% of your credit is due to those inquiries, and so you got to be careful. Only inquire when you need to inquire. Because you don't want to just go, oh geez, I hope I can open a credit card today, or I hope I can get a car loan or something like that today. Do it with a purpose is all I can, that's the advice that I can give you.
Yeah, okay, and so is running the credit card on something like one of the apps, like the LifeLock, is that the same? Is it every month? Is it
No. So that would not be included as an inquiry. So it's only if you're applying for credit somewhere.
Okay.
So that's an access to really the score and that type of thing. And so
It's interesting though, because I got an alert. All I wanted to do was sign up for online prescription refills at my local CVS. So I had to put in my information, and then I got an alert saying, is this you? We just got an inquiry on you. And I did not even know that the pharmacy could do that. Now, it didn't count against me financially, but it's amazing what they can find out about you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
You bet.
So to follow up on her questions,
Yes.
What is the importance of maybe getting a pre-approval when you're looking for a loan?
So, Abel, that's a great question. The reason why you might want to get a pre-approval is because you're going to know exactly what your buying power is. And so if you're out looking for a car, again, whether it's just you or if it's you and your parents, if you get a pre-approval, you know what dollar amount you're looking for. And you can go in, quite frankly, with that pre-approval and say, listen, my credit union is authorizing me to $15,000 auto loan, and so show me what kind of cars that you have that fit under that thing, and then again that gives you that opportunity to again with a pre-approval. It's checking your credit before you're quote unquote doing something that you need to do to access it. So
Okay, thank you.
Gen Z is going to save the world.
they are, because you guys care, so it's good.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Alexa, and I was wondering, as a high school or college student, when you first want to start out growing your credit score, what is the best credit card to do that?
So Silver State Schools credit card. I'm a little spoiled. I think that secured card that I was talking about is absolutely the best way to go. Now, if you don't need that, then that's fine. I mean, you can apply for a normal credit card. And again, this is one of the things, and I'm doing a shameless plug for credit unions in general. Our credit. So we have no, there's lots of parts to it. We have no annual fee. If you go to a big bank, you're likely going to pay an annual fee. We have no balance transfer fee. We offer a lower interest rate, usually half of what the banks do. And so we think we've got a rewards program. So you guys all want to look for, hopefully you want cash rewards. I mean, one of the things that I like best about my Costco card, because we all shop at Costco because we have to, is if we have a family, you go to Costco, and so it's kind of funny. You get a cash rebate, and you go, wow! At the end of the year, I'm getting X number of dollars. I think that's always good to get a cash rewards program that gives you money back. Ours is 2%, for example, and so again, I think that's a good way to go. Secured, great way to go first, and then and the great thing about a secured credit card, everybody, too, is Alexa, you can really start in that regard, but then you work up. So you keep on working up. Think of it that way: you work up to a signature card and to the best card that you can get. Again, you enjoy all the benefits of it, but without some of the things like I have to keep it at a $500 limit because that's all I have in the bank. So.
You want them to pay you to use your card.
That's exactly right, and they will. Folks, if for those of you that have a credit card already, you know it's a scary proposition, and it takes forever to pay it down. One of the things in the Credit Card Act that came out was it actually tells you how long, if you were to pay the minimum payment, how long it would take to pay it off. And sometimes you'll look on there and go, wow, I have $2,000 balance, it's going to take me 29 years and 11 months to pay it off. And that's at a minimum thing. So pay it off early, use it often, and develop that credit, but always pay it. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Mia.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. My name is Michaela, and soon I'm an individual who is upcoming college freshman, and I'm going into the finance field. So what would be your best recommendations on increasing your overall financial literacy in terms of business or investing or credit cards in general?
Yeah, so from an investment standpoint, I would tell you, don't do anything speculative. You've all heard of crypto and Bitcoin. I don't own any of it, and I don't because I think it's what I would term to be a speculative investment. And so I always say, especially as you're developing, Social Security is going to be around in 2 more years when I want to get it. And so from my perspective, I think you want to look at things that, again, are the safe routes to do. Stay away from speculative things, especially at all of your ages. I think it's incumbent upon you to again, take the safe routes and do your research. Always do your research. We were just talking about the credit cards. Get the best credit card. You want cash rewards. You want no annual fee. You want the lowest interest rate you can get because you're not always going to be able to pay off that balance. And so just think of it this way. You got a $2,000 balance and you're only able to pay the minimum payment. That interest is going to keep on accruing, and that's why it's going to take 29 years and 11 months to pay it off. And so that's what you want to do is just be aware of it. I will tell you, at our credit union, from a financial literacy standpoint, this is the type of thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to create awareness and that type of thing within the community so people know. Our goal is to get you to a financial wellness perspective, and so it's not just financial literacy, everybody. It's financial wellness is the end goal to get you there, and so that's what we're trying to create.
There's also a website within Silver State Schools Credit Union, and it's called their Money Moves, and they will answer so many questions. There's so much good information on there when it comes to budgeting and credit scores and your accounts, so I would really recommend checking that. I go there to get information. It's really, really good.
And we also, and that's and in fact, it's kind of funny, Mercedes was just out at our Money Moves event. We do this on a quarterly basis and sometimes a little bit more often, where we have a Money Moves event at one of our branches, and we actually have people make financial guesses at what things are, so they become more informed. But then we give them money for that. But we also have a program called Balance. Both Money Moves and Balance are free of service. You can go into the Balance site in our application, and folks, there is everything you wanted to know about everything: budgeting, how do I pay credit cards, how do I buy a car, how do I buy a house, how do I finance it, and how do I create a budget. They even have counselors, free counselors, to help you create a budget for yourself. And so those are the kind of things that I think are meaningful. And again, we do that free. Banks don't. It's another reason why all of us from Silver State Schools Credit Union are at a credit union now and not a bank. So.
Where are you going to school, by the way?
I'm going to UNLV, actually.
Oh, good.
So,
staying close.
So don't buy pizza for everyone when you're hanging out and they say they'll Venmo you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Unless it's Metro. So no.
I'm here for you.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Contact info. Thank you so much.
Great question.
Hi there.
Hello, my name is Jennifer. I understand that you said that 10% of your credit score is based on inquiries.
Yes.
Could you please elaborate on what other factors are put to?
I'm glad you asked. No, that's a great one. So credit history is the top one, folks. 35% of your credit score is based on your credit history, how you pay your credit. If you go bad, it's going to go down lower. So that's 35%. So just think of it as a third of that. The other thing I talked about was the debt utilization before. Believe it or not, that's 30%. So what I tell you, not everybody has the ability or the means to pay their credit card off every month. And the credit card is the most frequent utilization thing. So utilization means if you have, for example, you have a credit card that has a $10,000 line of credit, right? And you've got $2,000 that's owed against that. We'll stick with the example that we've been giving. That means you're using 20%. You want to keep that, folks, on all of your credit less than 30% utilization. And if you're at that, you're going to get your maximum score out of utilization. That's a really, really important piece. And what I try to tell people, a lot of people say, I don't like that credit card anymore. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to cut it up. One of the worst things you can do. Don't close it, keep it. And the reason, now if they close it, you can't help that. But here's the reason why, is because if you close that account, what you're doing is you're actually lowering your utilization. Okay, and that's the last thing that you want to do. You want all your access to credit as much as possible, and so always keep those things open. That doesn't mean you have to use it. If you read some of the things like in the balance program, some people will actually freeze their credit card so they won't use it. They'll put it in the freezer in a block of ice. So it's kind of funny when you think about it, but it's kind of crazy. But so the increase are 10%. You also have another. I'm going to pull out my cheat notes just to make sure the type of credits that you open are 10%. And so why that's important, you're going to have your car loans, your credit cards, your house, those kind of things. So the more variance that you have on that, now it's only 10%, but if you have a variance of that, I think it's an important thing to do, and we talked through the inquiries as well. And the last thing is credit age. So credit age talks about how long you've had things in your account. Now, an old fogey like me, I go in there and I see, oh shoot, I've had a credit card for 40 years. And that's good because that's helping my credit when it comes down to it. Another reason not to turn it down. So yeah. But that's the reason why you want to do that. So those are the 5 factors. Again, the biggest one being how you pay your credit. Second, the debt utilization. Third, the age of your credit. Fourth, the inquiries, and fifth, I forgot again, type of credit. So those are the different ones.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi.
Hello, my name is Isaac, and I just wanted to ask, how soon into my young adult life should I start investing in my retirement, and what retirement funds or retirement programs do you think are the best?
Yep. Great question, Isaac. So I think the best one, the first answer is immediately, as soon as you can. And if you want to work at Silver State Schools Credit Union, then apply for that too. And we'll.
This is from the CEO.
Yeah, exactly. We have a 401k plan, folks, and I mentioned that before too. That is the absolute best investment that you can. So just so you know, on a 401k, you pick the type of investments that you want to do. You create your portfolio, and somebody like me who's closer to retirement, a lot closer to retirement than you, I tend to be conservative. And so I have a thing that's called a 2035 plan. And so I kind of am conservative with those kind of things. Some people are super aggressive. And I can tell you, for whatever reason, my chief financial officer is incredibly aggressive with his things. And so he takes chances like you wouldn't believe. Now, he may have more money in the bank than I do to be able to depend on that. But I think 401k is the absolute best thing that you can do. You want to look at different IRAs. Those are the individual retirement accounts. And typically where that's going to come into play is when you transfer, leave a job, and have the opportunity to go do another job. You take that 401k. The last thing you want to do is cash it out. The best thing to do is take it and put it in an IRA with a financial advisor. And there's a lot of great financial advisors out there. You see commercials for Fidelity and Ameriprise and those kind of things. Those are the groups that are really, really responsible. And I would always tell you, as you're looking at IRAs and doing that kind of stuff, we do investments as well at the credit union. And I think it's important to always go to your trusted financial source. And I can't underline that more. From our perspective, I think you always want to go to somebody that you trust. And we have a purpose statement. For those of you that listen to Simon Sinek or anything like that, we have a why statement, and it's to inspire trust by actually prioritizing people over profit. And so what we want to do is always look at that. But the big thing on that is inspiring trust too. Is go to your trusted services and put your money in those kind of financial institutions so you know what you're doing. Yep, great question.
Topic on the 401k, a lot of workplaces will do a 401k match, and that's basically free money that they throw your way. Make sure you sign up for that.
Yeah, and we're one of the few, so we do a 6% match. And most of the organizations I've worked for are a 3% match. And so just like Mercedes said, that's free money for your retirement. You want to use that at all times. That 401k is really, really important.
All right, final question. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Spencer. I was wondering, when you conduct interviews, if you ask any unconventional questions, or otherwise, what characteristics you look for in an applicant?
For a job? Mm-hmm. So typically the first thing that we need is to make sure that you're bondable, and so that's typically at 18 years old. We just do a background check, credit check, and make sure that you're okay from that perspective. I'm not a big advocate of asking strange questions, and Ralph actually hires for our branches and our call center, which is where most people come in. I don't think he or I like to ask unconventional questions. I'm more of a straightforward kind of person. I want to get to know you as a person. I will tell all of you from a career perspective, the thing I want you to remember is to be yourself, be relaxed, and go in there and show initiative. Things that are important to me as an employer is accountability. I want to make sure that I can trust you. But the funny thing is I don't really care if you have experience in financial services. If we're hiring for what we call culture, so cultural fit. We want people that fit the mold of serving our members and doing the right things by that. And so Ralph, you're not a big. Are you an unconventional guy when it comes down to it?
No, you hit it right on the nail on the head. It really is a matter of do you have the right aptitude and attitude in serving our members and the personality to be engaging with them and letting them know that you are trustworthy and that you are looking out for the best interest.
Yep. Thank you. It's a great question. Yep.
Thank you guys so much for all of the great questions. We'll stick around for a minute or two if you didn't get to put your question in, but we're so impressed with how intelligent you guys are. I see a really bright future for all of you. And Scott, thank you for being a part of this.
Well,
I know
thank you, Mercedes.
Are a busy man, and you were fantastic. So again, if you guys have any questions, we'd love to answer whatever we can. And thank you. We love you guys. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.